Well, hello and welcome to Code3Conversations. I am Cece Strong and I am here today with Eric Strong. And yes, same last name. That is my husband. And when I started Code3Conversations 11, now number 12 episodes ago, he was coming on as a guest and actually ended up coming on and doing every single one of these with me. I am excited today to share with you that we are going to be going through our topics for episode 12, and it's going to be very interesting. So, what do you say, Eric? Are you ready?
I am ready. Let's do it.
And, and for whatever
Oh,
reason, I
so
have this like sparkly glow around me. So that's a good sign. I'm going to hope. But I'm going to actually switch over so that we can get started with our topics. I'd like to welcome you in. Code 3 Conversations is basically the way it sounds. When we roll code 3, it's an emergency or it's an urgent call that we're trying to get to help those within the community. Well, this code 3 Conversations is for us to build a better bridge with law enforcement and the community. So, we have a couple of house rules. We call it the riots method. So, you're respectful, you remain in integrity. Oh, I forgot what the O was. Be open minded, remain in truth, and always be supportive and share from your heart when you are sharing. We ask that you remain in that truth. But Code 3 Conversations is because of some things that have been happening for many, many years within law enforcement that we sometimes ignore. We sometimes don't give a voice to the reality that we need change. We read about it in headlines. We see the negativity. We have the complaints from the community. But instead of addressing those concerns, we tend to defend immediately. It's like in any argument. You want to get your point across. You want people to hear you. This is a Code 3 conversation of a different kind. We want to work with community members so that they actually get their voices heard. Well, I hope that you have brought something to drink, which I have here. Make sure you have your snacks. It is a relaxed environment. It is not a newscast. So, if Eric is ready, we're going to get started.
I'm ready. Let's go. What's the topics? What are we doing? And I'm
Awesome.
trying to figure this out because I have this new camera,
Okay.
and it looks like when I look at the screen, my eyes are down, but my camera's up here. But if I'm looking up here, I can't see you. Anyway, we're just gonna figure it out. So if I'm looking at you, I'm looking at you. I'm looking down here, but if I'm looking at the camera. So anyway,
It
okay.
looks like you're looking at me when you look in the camera. That's
Okay.
a rule of
But
thumb.
now, what does it look like right now? Because I'm looking at you on the screen.
You're looking down at me,
Okay.
wherever you're
But I
seeing
can't
me.
see your pretty face when I'm looking in the
Oh,
camera.
how very sweet of you. How very sweet.
Okay, let's go.
Well, again, CC Strong. And today's first topic for C3C is dangers of excessive force. So today, Eric, just so you know, I just posted about this because I don't think that in the officer's mind who are using excessive force, they consider the entire ramifications of it. Let's just say that they're in the heat of the moment and there's some bravado, there is just not thinking properly, or they're malicious in what they do and how they behave in their work. They're not considering the fact that people get upset about the excessive force, and they may not necessarily take it out on that person who has caused the excessive force. We've lost people within the profession strictly because someone has rolled up on them and taken their life because of the uniform. And I don't think enough is said about that particular thing with considering all of the ramifications, not just lawsuits and all the things that people are fearful of, but just the reality of what you do to your partners. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I think you bring up a very good point that many people really don't consider and think about. And it's honestly, quite honestly, I could say that there's been certain situations where I could tell my partners, hey, you're making it harder on me, you know what I mean, to do my job by the way that you're acting. But I don't know that I would have considered just straight up excessive use of force kind of in that category. But you're so right. I always considered this excessive use of force as, you're violating the public's trust. And what happens is when you do that, and then somebody else does it, and then somebody else does it, and people have this shared experience. Number one is they go home and they tell their family, "Hey, the cops roughed me up. Hey, I was late for work because the cops stopped me and roughed me up." And then especially nowadays with video everywhere, and then it gets publicized. It gets publicized oftentimes on social media or the actual media picks it up and it really just makes us all look bad because, as I've said before, you've heard me say this before. When doctors do wrong, when doctors make a mistake and they amputate the wrong limb, when they leave something in a person, that they had surgery on, a sponge or a utensil, or when they are malicious and violate a person while they're under anesthesia or something like that, nobody says all doctors are bad. They just say, well, I'm not going to that doctor. Typically, that doctor gets removed or something happens. But when something happens with law enforcement, I don't care if it's on the East Coast, people on the West Coast and law enforcement in uniform are seen as these bad, awful demons, and we're all lumped into the same thing. Now, I get it because a lot of people in different communities have shared experiences. They have similar experiences. So when they see something in Philadelphia and Chicago and New York and Missouri, whatever it is, they're like, oh yeah, the cops here do the same thing. So yeah, it can make people angry at anybody and everybody wearing that uniform, making the badge. And then you have people that are not wanting to go along, not wanting to cooperate, and they will even ambush us, as we've seen all too often.
Yeah, and I think I equate it to once sitting in a PTA meeting and having a parent say that the way that she raised her child at home was her business. And so she didn't think that her parenting impacted other children. And I had to actually explain to her, if you're letting your kid watch a bunch of horror movies or, they're watching stuff that's adult and they shouldn't be watching it. They come to school and they share that with their friends. Guess what happens? Now that friend's parent is dealing with whatever that other child is bringing into their home. And so, no, it's not just about how I raise my child. Your ramifications of how your child is behaving impacts other people. And the same goes for law enforcement. You have my partner. I don't want to put my partner in danger. If you're a real genuine partner, you're not going to have your partner lie. You're not going to have your partner be in on something that they need to yank you back from. You're actually going to work to keep your partner safe. And you're not keeping your partner safe, even if you're on the other side of the United States and you're doing excessive force or using excessive force, and the ramifications have a ripple. And it
I
does,
like
it's
that.
not a smart move.
Yeah. Kind of like that parent that tells their kid, like in kindergarten, that there is no Santa Claus right around Christmas time. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say that? I'm sorry. But I mean, they force all the other parents to have to deal with it because the kid goes to school and says Santa Claus isn't real. And now all the other kids go home and ask their parents, is Santa Claus real? And
Okay, reel it
um,
in.
oh, okay. I'm sorry. It makes other parents have to parent differently. I get
Bring
it.
it
Yeah.
back. We're not
Oh, okay.
talking about parents. We're not talking about real
I was using the
experiences.
analogy that you gave about allowing their kids to watch movies and do. Okay, I'm sorry. But yes, you're
Touche.
absolutely right. You're
Checkmate.
absolutely
You ran through the tape of the finish line. Okay, you get your trophy. But
right. Nobody knows what we're talking about.
yeah, they do now. They can kind of figure it out. But the on the serious side of the dangers of excessive force is that we have to strongly consider the ramification of our actions. It's not just about the excessive force. It's out on the street, but it's also in the courts and the custody and in the places, particularly with the sheriff's department, because we have such a large reach. You have to be careful of what your actions, what 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 it attracts, the
Yeah.
behaviors that you It attracts. I used to teach, and I recently had someone, and it just was so heartwarming. I had a former recruit reach out to me and say, "Hey, I got something to share." And this person sent me something where a person was receiving an award, and they gave me some accolades for having taught them to start at level 0. And you have all that wiggle room to go all the way up to level 10. And if you then just start off.
Let me jump in real quick. Let me jump in real quick. I don't know what you did. Your cord, you got really garbled on your
Did
speaker.
I?
Okay, now
Okay.
whatever you do. Yeah, you're better. I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay. The note to my team, they're going to edit that part out. I'm sure they won't use that part. But the person gave me credit for teaching them about level 10, level 0. So you start out at 0, and the person is yelling at you at 10. And you tell them, if you don't stop what you're doing right now, I'm going to shoot you. Or if you open your mouth one more time, and the person does nothing but open their mouth and then close it, and you don't shoot, you've lost all credibility because you literally threaten that person with something that doesn't make sense. So starting out at 0 gives you some, hey, sir, calm down. Ma'am, you're not listening to me. Okay, wait, I'll listen and hear you out, but then you're going to be able to listen to me, right? There are so many other things that can be used before going to your gun belt that I don't think we use. I think it may be fear, it may be ego, it's a combination, all type of things that immediately make people want to jump in and use force. And not safety though. When I say safety and you need to, you're telling my trouble. So go ahead and respond.
Yeah, you cut out again. It got really garbled and you went out for a minute.
Okay.
Um,
So
but
what I was
I do remember you sharing with me that post, which was actually very heartwarming. Um, and it just goes to show that you never know the lasting impact that you have on people when you're teaching, when you're speaking, when you're mentoring, you're coaching. But I want to talk about, an incident that I had one time, and you've heard me share it before, but on two different occasions, I had somebody stop me one time in a store when we had our oldest with me. He was just a little baby still sitting in the front of the cart. So this was back in the 90s. And this is not really a pat on my back, but it's just that I was that guy back in the day. I ran, I jumped, I chased, I drove, I was in a lot of pursuits, and I took a lot of people to jail. And that's not a pat on my back. It's just where I was and what I did. And this guy stops me coming out of a store one day, and he says, "Hey, aren't you a cop?" And for those people that are watching, this is the one thing that they tell you you have to be afraid of when you're off duty is somebody recognizing you, because they're going to recognize you before you know them. And they also tell you that this is the one thing that, is going to be the biggest danger or potential danger to your family, because if this person sees you and you did them wrong, you know what I mean, and they want to get back at you, that's the time. You're not with all your gear, you're not with your radio, your vest, and your partners. And so I'm coming out of the store, and he says, "Hey, you're a cop." And I said, "Can I help you?" And he goes on to tell me my name. He says, "Hey, your name is Strong." And I'm like, "Okay." He says, "You don't remember me." He says, "You took me to jail one day." And I'm like, "Okay." And now I'm kind of really getting concerned because I have my son with me. I mean, he's just a baby. And he says something to the effect is, he says, "You took me to jail." And he says, "And you beat my butt when you took me to jail." And now I'm really literally pushing the cart away, and I'm looking for somebody in the store to, "Hey, you know what, get my son." And he says, "Hold on, I see this is not going well. Let me back up." He says to me, "I've been in trouble with the law since I was a kid." And this guy was older than me. He says, "Ever since I was a teenager." And he says, "And I've been in and out of jail." He says, "And I shot somebody that day, or I shot at somebody. You chased me. I ran. You caught me. I fought." He said, "But when you put the handcuffs on," he said, "you picked me up," and he says, "and you actually dusted me off. And you asked me, 'Hey, are you okay? Like, why did we have to do that?'" And then he described how I took him back to the car, And I guess I had a bottle of water or something, and I poured some water on some scrapes that he had and kind of just wiped it off. And he says, I just treated him like a human with dignity. And what I remember from that, and also from working in the jails, is that people that are doing wrong and get caught, they're not mad that they got caught. They know the game of cops and robbers. They know that they're doing wrong and there's a potential that they're going to get caught. And those that are even in jail are not mad that they're in jail. They're mad because they're dehumanized. They're mad because they're disrespected. They're mad because when a police officer puts the handcuffs on and gets a couple of extra licks in, they're mad because when there's 4 or 5 or 6 cops on one person and they're kicking and they're punching and the person's trying to give up. You know what I mean? That's what they're upset about. And I just remember this guy, and it happened to me twice in my life, in my career, where people said something similar. And it lasts. People remember those kind of interactions. So conversely, people remember the bad ones. People remember a sucker punch. People remember a I'm handcuffed and you slapped me or you punched me or you kicked me and you didn't need to, right? They remember that. It's just a violation. I mean, nobody would want to be held with their arms behind their back and let somebody else come up and punch them, slap them, do anything to them. Don't care where you are, what set of circumstances. You would say that's cheating, that's a cheap shot. You would say, you know what I mean? And I'm talking about law enforcement. So
Yeah,
to think that it's okay to do, and I've seen it, you know what I mean? I've reported it. And yeah, we got to do better. It's not needed. It's not necessary. It doesn't gain anything. You're not teaching anybody a lesson. You're not showing them, that who's who, who's the boss. You're not punishing them for whatever it is that they did. That's not the way it works. No, you're violating the public's trust and you're making targets out of everybody that puts on that uniform.
absolutely. And the way that you said that is exactly what I was posting about today. The consequences of your actions could be detrimental to your partners. So you can't have it both ways and say that you're about a brotherhood or sisterhood when you're willing to put your partners at risk. And willing to put them at risk is you're acting out of your own fears, your own level of what you can and cannot handle, and not knowing what that is. I know that I am 5'4". We're going to leave the pounds out of it. But I know what my limitations are. I am not going to run up on something that I cannot handle. But if you enter into the uniform, and I always say it's not the people wearing the uniforms, it's the ones who allow the uniform to wear them. If you enter into the uniform with the mindset that people are less, they're not equal to you, they're criminals, so they're horrible people, and you have that so ingrained in your mind that you project that dislike or whatever you want to call it, you are the problem. I would challenge anybody to say differently. If you're letting your personal feelings govern and you're not able to step back and objectively look at the situation, a punishment needs to fit the crime. But you don't hold court in the streets doing the judge, jury, and sentencing all in one shot.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Because you just said something that sparked something in me that talked about seeing people as less than, right? Or seeing people as what is it that you said? Did you say less than?
Yeah, if you're looking at
Okay,
them and they're like animals to you, or
right,
they're criminals, or they're just different from me, so they live down in this neighborhood, and you basically know exactly what I'm speaking of.
right,
It's like you have your own whatever it is you're feeling about people, and you bring it
right. So
into
let
the
me
uniform.
yeah. So let me say this, and let's say that you don't bring it into the uniform. Let's say that you didn't necessarily think that way. But I want to ask because this has been asked of me several times just recently. And now you started in your career this way. I didn't. What do you think about the idea about people going in law enforcement in their first few years are spent working in jails? Because a lot of questions have come up about that where they see everybody as a crook because they're all in jail. They see everybody all dressed in blue, all ages, all heights, all weights, different colors, but everybody that's in their clientele list, so to say, in their mind is a crook because they're in jail. And then we send those people out into the public. And I know that I'm totally getting off topic, and if you don't want to go down that road, we don't
No,
have
no,
to.
no. I
But
love it.
I just what you just said just kind of sparked that in me because I've been asked that, within the last 3 weeks, like two or three times. Do you think that that plays a role in how they see people and how they treat people in the public? Do you think that's good for law enforcement, or do you think it's bad?
I think it is good and bad depending on the person. And I know that's not a direct answer for you. But if you can remain, and you have to be, first of all, solid within who you are before you come into this uniform. You have to know your strengths, your weaknesses, what triggers you, what sets you off, a way to temper yourself because you're going to be experiencing things that you probably have never experienced before. Then there are some who, like me, grew up in the same areas where some people come to work and they come there to get a badge of honor. I want to work in those particular areas because those are the hot areas. And I get to actually tell people what to do. And if I can work there, I can work anywhere. I know that's a little off from the answer, but let me let me share this with you. Years ago, I taught DARE program. And there used to be teachers that would come into, and I was teaching in the Compton Unified School District. And there would be teachers that would come and say, we came here to punch our ticket. Because if we can handle the kids at this school, we can handle kids at any other school. It'll be a cakewalk. It's the mindset. If I walk into a jail and I've grown up in this area, don't be mad at me because I don't have to use brawn to gain someone's compliance. I can actually use a language that they understand. And instead of using that as a resource for some, we don't have that. Unfortunately, quite a few people come into this uniform and the uniform begins to wear them. If they've had limited life experiences and all they're acting on is the academy training, it is the onus is on the people training them for a better understanding. And if you're perpetuating the same kind of disdain, dislike, craziness, whatever it is, then yes, it's a problem if all you see is one large majority of a certain type of people, for instance, and that's all you're around. And you've never had any life experience outside of that, which unfortunately, I go back to your candidate A, candidate B. Your analogy is perfect in that candidate that's just got the perfectly clean record, but they've never had any real life experience. And now they come in and you can teach them like a robot to mistreat people. So my answer, the short answer to your question, it has good and bad, and it also highlights good and bad in the individual.
I would agree with you with that. So now I'm going to just give you a little bit devil's advocate.
Okay.
Let's just take a neutral person, a person who has a good upbringing, who doesn't know the difference, who is neither good nor bad. They're just, let's just say that there's this level. You know what I mean? They're at zero and they can go 0 to 100 or zero negative to 100 or 0 to 10 or -10. And you put them in the jails first. The same thing, person that never had any adversity, didn't grow up around that, grew up in a different environment, in a different neighborhood, but you put them for 2, 3 years in a jail as the very first part of their career and they're neutral. Do you think, and again, try to take yourself out of it because I know where your heart is, but do you think that the average person has a better chance to go to the negative with when they do go out into the community? And let me give you a little bit of an idea what I'm talking about. So when I first became a police officer, 3 days out of the academy, I'm in a patrol car and we're doing stops and we're driving down the street and we're in neighborhoods and we're seeing little old ladies, we're seeing little old men. We're doing traffic stops, and a lot of times you see a traffic stop, you don't know who you're pulling over. We're doing traffic stops. We're walking up to cars with, just a person coming home from work. Could be a teacher, a doctor, a lawyer, whatever. Or we could do a traffic stop on somebody that looks like and really is truly just a gangster, right? So you don't know who you're going to come in contact that day, and it could be any portion of the community. But again, when you're in the jail and you see everybody visually wearing the same outfit, you see everybody visually walking with their hands behind their back on the wall, you see everybody visually getting locked into a cell every night or into a dorm. You know what I mean? And everybody's there because they've been arrested. There's nobody in jail that hasn't been arrested, right? They're all there because they've been arrested. Do you think that creates, if you were to give an average, is that bad for our indoctrination or an introduction if somebody was just at a zero?
I
Better chance of
go,
going down or better chance of going up or staying the same?
if you asked and posed the question, is it a better chance of going up? I would say yes, I could agree with you. I think when I was saying
That
it,
it benefits them when they go to the streets,
no, no,
meaning it's
no,
a good
that
thing?
it could be actually detrimental because
Okay,
mentally
detrimental. Down. Okay.
you're believing that everything you're seeing is what a criminal is. But I go to this, when people come on the department, a lot of them don't know how to shoot a gun. You and I were both in the military, so it wasn't it's unfamiliar to you until you're trained. What are we training people? And I'm not
Yeah.
saying that you're not correct in that, hey, coming and spending time in custody for so long, the two failures, in my opinion, is the way that it is viewed. If the sheriff himself doesn't tout to everyone to let them know that on equal playing field, all those three areas within the sheriff's department are an equal playing field of where to work. You know what you get? You get a lot of people who, if you didn't work this patrol station over here, you are not worthy of the uniform. If you didn't work back in the hot years, whatever that means, because I guess some people now will tell later people that it was the hot years. Hot years definition has never really been defined. What are we training them is even better. You train them out of the academy and you're teaching them both, primarily patrol tactics, more so than what you're going to deal with in custody because you get custody after the fact. Here's what my answer to that would be. Impose the way that you posed it to me? Absolutely. If you sit long enough in a certain place, you're going to see what's around you. That's what you're going to develop. You lay a baby on a bed and all you do is bark. When the baby opens its mouth, guess what it's going to do? Probably make that same sound. Absolutely. That's the cross the board. But realistically, what we are teaching and not then reinforcing. The comment that's made, and I've had other officers in other trainings from other agencies, and it remains the same. Two things are very constant. They understand the way we always did it, which I think is one of our slides today. And number two, hey, I know what you learned in the academy. Now I'm going to teach you the right way. Honestly, as a law enforcement officer, to me, that's one of the dumbest things that you could ever say. Because the same mindset that you say, all those people, they see the same uniform, they see the same type of people. You have now just told a brand new recruit, dump everything you just learned and mimic me. I am your blueprint. I am your father, because you know some of these folks call their training officers daddy, which is crazy to me. I don't understand it. Why? I have no clue. But you tell that person, wipe out everything you learned, and now I'm going to show you the right way. And if the right way is taught to you by someone who the uniform wore them instead of them wearing the uniform, that's where your bigger problem is. It's not necessarily just the custody thing, but that is a question that comes up all the time. And I say it's not so much your responses and your answers. We're asking the wrong questions. I know that's a long way around to answer your question, but
No, no. I mean, it's that's what I was looking for, just some input on that. And I didn't mean to, digress and really go down that road, but I was just curious. No, I
yeah, you
agree.
just kind of took over the
I
whole
agree.
slide there.
I'm sorry. Let's
Are
go.
you
Let's
ready
keep
to
it
move on?
pushing. Yes.
But that was a good point and something good to bring up because you got to empower your people to feel good about wherever they're working and train them the right way. And basically, basic human decency doesn't cost any of us anything. And when it's time to actually go level 10, you got to be ready to do that. So, our next one, challenging tradition. The way we have always done it. Da, 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 da.
Da, 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 da.
Yeah, that sounded better than the one I did, but whatever. I tried. The way
Okay.
we've always done it. I hear it all the time. Yeah, well, this is the way we do it here at this station. Oh, this is the way we do it at this court. Oh, this is the way custody does it over here. And we create these little pockets. We are probably the worst when it comes to the biggest topic of deputy gangs because there's groups. If you don't work patrol, then you're a slap. If you work in patrol and then you come and you do nothing on your overtime shot, I mean, tell me when I'm wrong. Please stop me. It's the
Yeah. Yeah.
infighting that is actually imploding the whole operation instead of the training and making people understand that your role is not to be the enforcer 24/7 or weak in your delivery. There is a balance and the punishment needs to fit the crime. And the way we've always done it, we're not getting anywhere.
I think two things come to mind when you mention that is one is how many times have you seen or we seen that the way that we've always done it is not in line with policy.
Oh,
And then two things, right?
92% of
Yeah.
the
And
time.
then number one is you go and you take a test for a sergeant's exam and they give you the policy and you answer the question wrong because you're like, oh, that's not how we do it. Whereas and so many, and that happens all the time. You know what I mean? And you've seen it. You're either studying for the test, and or you take the test, and somebody comes and asks you, "Hey, did you see that question about A, B, C, and D?" And you know what I mean? We don't do it like that. We do D, C, B, and A. And they're like, "Yeah, but the policy says A, B." Oh, I didn't know. Or when you show somebody the policy, they quickly want to dismiss them. Like, oh, well, that's not how we do it. But you're supposed to follow the policy. So how about you shift the way that you do it to go along with the policy rather than expecting the allowances of you to keep doing it the way you've always done it. And one thing I will say is I had a training officer that told me, he says, Eric, I'm going to show you how to do everything according to the book. And he said, there's going to be times when it's okay and you can take shortcuts, not malicious, not things that are going to be harmful, but there's ways to, you know what I mean, kind of be more efficient. But if you don't know how to do it right first, you won't know how to, be efficient or take the shortcut without now violating the policy or the law or something like that, and it made a lot of sense to me as opposed to somebody's just shown the wrong way to do it and they say this is how we do it, this is how we've always done it, and now they're doing it wrong but they think it's right. And I think that right there is the way that we've always done it. And then I mean I just it just baffles me how people are so resistant to any kind of change, but they change everything in their life. Everything. They
I
change
think
everything.
I think they're resistant to change that they didn't bother to familiarize themselves with. I don't want to do the hard work to learn what I don't know. I want the promotion, and you can skip me 2, 3 levels, and now all of a sudden I'm the authority, and I walk around and I look so great with the shiny things on my collar. But I'm not going to do the research to actually do it the right way. I'm going to just fall in line and just, hey, because everybody's now going to report to me, I don't have to do anything. And we stop learning. My training officer taught me this way, and there is no other way. It's the way I learned it. It's like growing up. I learned this when I grew up, so that is the letter of the law. My parents, I love them. When they were here, they said we are perfectly imperfect. It was my mom that said it, and my dad just kind of nodded, like, yeah, I agree. Yeah, what she said. But they said that they were perfectly imperfect because they knew they didn't give me every single thing perfectly because they didn't get it perfect. Everybody that is trained should be training their person to say, hey, you're still going to have to read. You're going to have to update when policy changes. You're going to have to keep training. You know what they do? They make jokes about training. They literally joke. Like, who wants to go to training? I saw a post today where they show these people and some guy had his head back and he's sitting in a training class and it almost looks like something with, I don't know if it's a prison or whatever. But then the joke was that, hey, like us officers, they don't like going to training either. To me, that's the dumbest way of thinking on the face of the planet. To go into a training expecting to get the answers, to get out early, to not have to actually learn anything because I'm already tough and I already know everything. And what can you really teach me? It's sad. We wonder why we have the problems that we have. It's not even the topics that people are speaking about so much. We want reform. What does that look like? What does real, genuine reform look like? What does a reset and reshaping and making people holding them accountable look like? I saw what accountability looked like when I was holding people accountable, and they were like, well, I've been doing this for 7 years. Not my fault that the department let me do it all this time. And now I'm saying, I get that, but you're not going to do it on my watch and have me sign off on it, knowing that it's wrong. You asked me the question, how often do we see the way we've always done it doesn't line up? How often do we take a test and it has nothing to do with the way we've actually done that particular thing? And we're failing the test, and you're losing some good people in general for positions because they didn't learn it the right way. People cry about training, but that training is only as good as the person training the people. When that person sent me that post, I'm not connected to this person. Didn't see that person beyond the academy and them graduating. But for them to have remembered something that I taught them and to reach back and actually speak about that in a post, that was, I was in tears because some get it. And that person probably could walk into that custody environment you were talking about for 3 years, 4 years, and still come out okay because it was about the mission, not about my own feelings about how I think people should be and how they need to live. And we're not their judge and jury. We don't get to hold court in custody. We don't get to hold court in court. We're usually a bailiff or in the down in the basement. We are not the judge and jury, but yet we walk around and to make all these decisions and tell everybody what to do. And quite honestly, I think a lot of the folks are immature in that they miss something. You got a lot of kick me sign people, is what I call it. You wore a kick me sign in school, and now you're the big boss and you want to tell everybody what to do. We see it in more than just law enforcement. I think it's probably rampant in so many different areas. I could go all day on that. But the way we've always done it drives me nuts because that just means, hey, this is just how we've done it. I have no need to change, but I'm watching headlines. I'm seeing negativity. I'm seeing excessive force. I'm seeing officers losing their jobs. I'm seeing citizens lose their lives. And the cycle continues.
And I just want to add to that the way that we've always done it is so much more than just the things that we're seeing on social media and the news. When you're taught bad report writing, that's key. When you're taught, I mean, we're talking about tactics, but when you're taught bad phone etiquette in the public calls, when you're taught bad radio etiquette and then it gets out, when you're taught that it's okay and we're going to scan a sheet of barcodes rather than going and actually doing our cell checks. And it's no, you can't just continue to do things the way that we've always done them, especially when you see that they fail, when you see that they don't work, when you see that there is new technology, when you see that change needs to be made, or when you see that, you know, um, it's just a new era. It's a new day. It kills me that um, it seems like it's the youngest deputies who have always had a phone since the day they were born. Phones have been here since the day they were born that have the issue with understanding that there's a camera watching you all the time. You know what I mean? It's like the older people that, if somebody had a camera, it was about this big, it was on your shoulder like a big old boom box, you know what I mean? And and after about 10 feet, it got grainy and you had this big old light on it. It's like, we understand that there's cameras there, and and I was taught, whatever you do, Be okay with it being shown on the 5 o'clock news on Channel 5. So
Absolutely.
you got to ask yourself if what you're going to do, is it going to be okay with being 5 o'clock news, Channel 5? But it's like,
Absolutely.
it seems like it's yeah, and I don't know, but yeah, we can't keep doing things the way we've always done them, unless they are the honorable, good things. And we have to be willing to evolve with the times. We have to be willing to move with the times. We have to be willing to acknowledge mistakes, violations, things, and say, "Ooh, we need to do that different."
Absolutely. And the young people that are watching this recording, let me just let you know, I defend the whole millennial and Gen elemental P. I don't know the different letters when they put us in categories of how we were raised and what generation you came into. Um, to those folks, I would say I defend it because a lot of this way have always done it was passed down.
Yeah.
It was passed down in tradition, tradition that was never fixed then, and now is crammed down our throat. And I'm sorry, the older people, like me included, the latest, greatest phones, when they come out, we stand in those same lines. Yeah, they were born in the era, but you got more people my age and higher and older than that era buying into all of the stuff that is new technology, wanting to learn it and to then make it a problem where they're concerned. I just like, I don't know, shout out to the younger people because maybe they have something to lend to help with this whole the way we've always done it. Now they can be a total different, sometimes you're listening and it's like, yeah, I have no idea why they speak that way, but it's almost like a different language. But maybe a different language is needed, a more positive one, a more unifying one. And the reality is, it's not soft for you to actually reach out to the community. There's a difference between outreach and engagement. Two different places in the dictionary. You can actually outreach all the time, but if you're not engaging, you can gain some people's ability to give you more information. Sometimes it's that little old lady on the porch that no one's paying attention to that has more information than anybody else that's claiming to be a witness because she saw it all from the very beginning. But they don't trust you. And if they don't trust you, they're not going to talk to you. The way we've always done it,
Yeah.
hidden behind the word tradition. And I don't think we could even describe what tradition really is anymore.
And let me just say this, and I've seen some young people because so many people get caught up in a motto,
Mm,
MOTTO, a motto. I hear people all the time say that law enforcement's job is to protect and serve.
I said it not too long
Yeah,
ago. You picking at me?
okay. Well, no, but I mean, I hear other people say it too. That is LAPD's motto.
Mhm,
That's what's on the side of LAPD. It's not on the side of New York PD. It's not on the side of Chicago. It's not on the side of our cars.
mhm.
But people have, it's so familiar and people see it and it's become famous that protect and serve is supposedly, you're supposed to protect and serve me. And people think that means you bring me my food and you're a waiter. You're supposed to serve me,
Mm-mm.
you know? No, I mean, you do, you hear it sometimes, but in our department or the department we worked for at LASD, what does it say on the side of the cars? A tradition of service. So now you have young people, and let me stop saying young people. You have deputy personnel, you have department personnel that get hung up on the word tradition. Look at what it says on the side of our car, tradition of service. So we got to keep our traditions going. Not if they're stupid, not if they're dumb traditions, not if they're harmful traditions. No, you don't. You don't need to keep the tradition. Why you don't wear it. You know, it doesn't matter how cold it is. You never put on a jacket. Yes, I do. When I'm cold, I put on a jacket. There is no tradition that says I'll never wear a jacket because you had some tradition of never wearing a jacket. That's dumb.
Or
So anyway,
chasing ink.
that too, you know what I mean? Whatever it is that they consider, some people
That
buy off
tradition.
into these mottos. You know what I mean? And you got to realize, don't be a follower. That's what it is. It's a motto that somebody came up with that put it on the side of a car that probably It's been there 30, 40 years. Maybe it needs to be changed. Maybe we need to reevaluate what our motto is. You know what I mean? And so anyway, I
Not
just wanted to say that.
necessarily. Here's what I would say. The service word is still there. So how do you just stop? If it's a tradition of service, service could have a whole new meaning. Service to the community in a good way, services in the community by protecting them from crime, arresting people that need to go, cleaning up the streets. Absolutely. But if they're just stuck on the word tradition, I agree with you.
My point. Yeah, that's what I hear a lot of people say. It's a tradition. You look on the side of a car, tradition, service. And I'm like, okay, yeah. And so they get caught up on the fact that LASD is just steeped in tradition, but they miss the point that it doesn't mean that you don't change or you don't look at, the era, the technology. And yeah, you may be, a tradition of good service is one thing, but a tradition of just doing things the way you've always done it is something totally different. So that's my point.
That's a good ending for that slide, though. A tradition of service of doing the way we've always done it. It's not a good thing. I like that. So
Thank
let's
you.
move on, shall we? You get an A today.
Thank you. I said two good things today. Yes, twice you said I said something good.
Twice in
I
one
get two.
day.
I
You
get two
did two.
stars.
You get 2 stars. Yeah, you did. Today you were on a roll. Okay, let's see. Drum roll. Following lawful orders. Ooh,
Who's this
this is
for? Is this for the public or for us following as following from our esteemed leadership that sometimes don't know what they're doing? I'm sorry. Did
I
I say
think
that?
it's both. I think it's both because citizens are held to the, I mean, you should be following the law. It's not just, and again, Code3 Conversations was never bashing law enforcement. That's
Of
not,
course.
but when you're speaking from what your experience is, and you as a law enforcement officer, who do we first start with when we're trying to fix something? It should be ourselves because we know ourselves better than anybody else. So I think this could be both
Yeah,
following
but
lawful orders and internally in law enforcement, us following lawful orders.
because you just said following the law. So following the law is different than following a lawful order, right? Would you agree?
Okay, yeah. If you're,
Okay. So I want to make sure that I'm
if I
just
said
on the right.
following the law, then I didn't, following lawful orders, I didn't
Got it.
complete the thought.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So let's, I mean, where do you want to start? You want to talk about citizens following the lawful orders of, and I'm assuming, do you mean of law enforcement, or do we want to talk about kind of on the inside? What do we?
I mean, I would say let's start with the community because that you're seeing a lot today where people are saying, I have my rights to do this, this, and the other. You can't say this to me. You can't do that. So there's a language too that, from a citizen standpoint, can put them in a dangerous situation. If they're already heightened awareness and according to what they've dealt with, they might actually say something that incites further or makes things worse. So I think from both standpoints, it's a lesson in understanding. First of all, acknowledging that I did something wrong. I know I ran that light. I know I was going too fast. I know I stole whatever it is. I know I'm about to get caught. And 9 times out of 10, like a kid, a lot of them will immediately say, I didn't do it. But you get a whole lot of officers that will do that too.
Okay, so let's go to the lawful order part. I
Mm-hmm.
get it. People breaking the law.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what I see in a lot of videos are what I would describe, honestly, all they have is a consensual encounter. And I see a lot of times law enforcement can't even articulate what they have. I don't know if it was you that sent me a video, but I saw a video the other day of this woman watering her yard or standing in front, and a police officer comes up and says, "Hey, I need to talk to you. I need to see some ID." And she says, "Why?" Like, don't worry about it. You're a suspect fitting the description. What description? A black female, medium build. She said, that's a category. I got on a purple hat or a purple bonnet. I got on a green sweatshirt. You know what I mean? And I'm sitting out in front of my house watering my yard. So, and so I think, what I see a lot of times are At least on the videos. At least on the videos. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that there aren't other encounters, but people stopping people and saying, I need to see your ID. For example, somebody calls and said there's these people here at the pool.
Hmm.
They don't belong here, or there's these people here in my neighborhood, or there's this person here in my apartment building, and they keep going in and out of this other apartment across from me with a key, but they don't belong here. You know what I mean? And so law enforcement comes up and they say, hey, can I see your ID? And the guy says, for what? I just moved in. Well, yeah, but I need to see your ID. Why? Because this person across the hall, I said, in other words, what criminal activity do you see where I'm using a key, going in the door, going out of the door, moving stuff in, not out, carrying stuff in? And so I think there really is a lot of people that see these, and we don't always see the good stuff, but that are challenging law enforcement's right or legal standing to stop them and ask for ID. And my question is this: when does law enforcement turn and look at the other person? And we've seen that too on a lot of social media. Look at the other person and say, why did you waste my time? Why did you call me? All I see is an individual using a key to go in and out of an apartment and they're moving stuff in. I don't see any. Why are you asking me to contact them? You know what I mean? And so, but sometimes we see that encounter where the police officer is asking for ID when a person does have a right to say, for what?
And
Why?
you bring up a good point because the one that kills me, and I've seen it repeatedly. I know one was a bird watcher because the guy ended up having a huge platform off of this, but he's a bird watcher and he's at a park, and a woman literally has her dog on the leash. She's yanking the dog, harming the dog, but she's saying, "This man, he's attacking me!" And oh my God, you've seen it where people literally pretend. Did you do?
No, no, no. I'm saying, yeah, they're calling
Oh,
on the phone. I'm just
I
saying,
thought you
yeah.
were telling me something.
No, I'm picturing the video where they're calling on the phone saying he just hit me, he just pushed me, and the person's
Yes.
filming the whole time is like, never did anything.
Yes. And the woman with the kid with the cell phone, and she's accusing this guy of stealing her child's cell phone, and the child ended up finding it or whatever. How many times do we see those videos and an officer walking up, actually, literally walking up, and if their first thing is analyzing the two people and immediately not thinking safety for both? I don't know which one of you guys could be carrying a knife or a gun or hostile or more aggressive or anything. But if in your mind you already have a mindset about certain individuals, let's just keep it real, you will approach things differently. And you will let the uniform wearing you lead instead of you wearing the uniform and considering officer safety all the way around. Hey, I need your information. I need your information. My partner's going to talk to you. I'm going to talk to this other person. And you gather the information of what just happened here. Shy of somebody with an actual weapon about to harm someone. Shy of somebody literally needing help, bleeding out, emergent situation, in an all out fight. There's a safety concern. There's some force that needs to happen right in the moment. Rolling up and saying, hey, just because I told you so, I need your ID. And you got somebody over here screaming and almost jumping on your back because you're not thinking that little woman was going to harm anybody. And you're immediately thinking the big dude is the problem. I, I think that's kind of crazy thinking. That's just me. The officer safety should be across the board. And if the person's going in and out of their house, because how many times have we seen that? Two recent videos I saw where judges at a court were told you're parked in the wrong space. You need to move your car. And they're standing there telling the person, I'm Judge such and such. But because they don't look like what the person thinks a judge should look like, they continue the behavior of you don't belong here. Eric, everything we're speaking of is steeped in one of the ism cousins. 9 times out of 10, I call them the cousins. And people know and they agree with the ism that starts with an S. They understand it because it's us women. We're being harmed. But I always say, well, I got a couple of those cousins. And I deal with being the woman on that lawn with the purple hat that you spoke about. And we have to address those type of things in our thinking and the way that we're training people to think about other people who did not grow up the way you did. So you getting in your feelings and then letting that come through your uniform is crazy. And the biggest one right now to me, which is to me stupid, and I hate to use that word, but it is bringing your political views into the uniform.
Ooh, ooh.
Nobody cares. And in in what I was trained and what I know, penal codes don't have sides of the aisle positions. Penal codes don't say that you treat these people over here a certain way and these a different way, but it happens. It happens in the isms, it happens in politics, and no one wants to have those conversations. Code 3 conversations. They don't want to talk about
I
that.
want to. I want to.
I do too, because I think we can get better. I think that things can actually mend if we stop playing games and being so scared of taboo topics and not wanting to talk about it. And who better to talk about it than somebody that has experienced it? You don't get to tell me what my experiences were, but people do it all the time. You see it in social media. Someone posts something and they get pounced on because you must be this or you have to be that. You don't know. Let the post
I
fit the
wanna
crime.
absolutely, and I wanna go back to the topic there, the following lawful orders,
Mhm.
uh,
Yeah,
which we
reel me
talked.
in.
Yeah, okay, I got yeah. I didn't. I wasn't gonna say that, but you said it. So anyway, because there's also that other side of it that we didn't talk about. I mean, the reality of it is, should a person follow a lawful order? Yes. Will it make things safer for everybody involved? Yes. You don't want to become, and this is for the public, you don't want to become this agitated, animated, yelling, screaming, and giving a law enforcement officer any articulation of fear, hostility, aggression, where they're going to use force. And it could have been, and we've seen it, where sometimes it results in deadly force when it could have been avoided. Sometimes it's better to just, I get it. Yes, you have rights. Sometimes you don't necessarily know the legal ramifications. I do believe that law enforcement should do a better job of explaining themselves. Um, but I always say this: better to survive the encounter and then go file a complaint than to not survive the encounter and then your family is filing a lawsuit, right? And guess what? The unfortunate part about that is you're sometimes not there to tell your side of the story. So,
Absolutely.
my thing is this: even though you may clearly know that it's wrong, don't give them ammunition, because if you have somebody that's clearly violating your rights, that's clearly violating the law, that's not the person that you want to push even further down that road. Think about it. It's kind of counterintuitive. You're violating my rights. I can't let you get away with it. But if you have a person with a gun and a badge that is violating your rights and showing that either they don't know or don't care about your rights, is that really the person that you want? You know what I mean? I mean, think about it like this. Do I want to hold a stake up in front of a kitty cat or a lion with nothing in between? You know what I mean? What's going to be more harmful? The more harmful is that person that is violating your rights, and what I mean, you're giving them ammunition. Um, yeah, let give yourself the opportunity to deal with it in another manner, by way of complaint, by way of using the video that you have, by way of a lawsuit, whatever it is, by way of putting it on social media and exposing whatever it is. But don't give them ammunition to make it even more unsafe than it already is. And
And
then
for,
there's okay.
go ahead.
No, and I was gonna say, and then there's what we deal with on the inside. There's what we deal with on the inside. Hey, I'm gonna just throw this out there. I need you to change your force report.
Whoo!
Well, or No, that's not the way that that complaint is going to be resolved. We need you to change that. And a lot of times the change is more about when we do, other places call it ComStat, but when we do risk management form, we don't want to have a lot of founded complaints in our forum, in our risk management forum, because that means that our supervisors, our sergeants, or our captain, unit commander is not doing their job and properly training and teaching. So what do? We write them right. We WRITE it until it's RIGHT. We just keep writing until somehow we've justified what our personnel did, even when it wasn't. And then guess what? As a captain, as a unit commander, I only have two founded complaints. Look how great my deputies are doing. No, you only have two that were so clearly and obvious or were on video, you couldn't help but make them founded. What about all the other ones? So yeah, those lawful orders on the inside. What's really a lawful order? Can you lawfully tell me to change my force report? Can you
Hmm.
lawfully tell me to make a use of force in policy that I clearly know is out of policy? I don't know. I'm gonna let you talk about that one. See, I don't know. What can you do with that?
I like the way your camera adjusted right on cue. Because, yes, I was asked to change a force report. And the story of it was that the actions of the sergeant were foul, hands down, flat out foul. The report was written for the force, and a packet was put in place for opening an investigation. The captain didn't agree with it. So, what she did is she wanted to call me into sidebar and have me change the report rather than just veto what I had to say. She had the decision making to just say, not going to open this because all of the elements aren't there. But she knew that the person had done wrong. Why? Because she was there from the onset. I was on the phone with her when the person was doing wrong. And yet it went not only from the captain, but to the commander. Please come in, Lieutenant Strong. Have a seat. I need you to change this report. Huh? There's some things in it that we need to adjust. Huh? You
But you
should
know what
have,
though?
but it gets better. She
No, but let
said,
me just tell you this. That goes back to, well, this is how we've always done it. So
yes,
I'm gonna leave it at that because we've always done it where everybody's got to concur up the change. So go. I'm sorry. Go. I just had to put that.
absolutely. And not only that, she then tells me I was wrong because if you felt this sergeant's actions were not correct and they were against policy, you should have asked for an investigation.
Oh, but you did.
Imagine as I'm sitting there looking at her and I tell her, you obviously did not read anything in that envelope. Your goal was to get me to change it, period. Because if you open the envelope, only two things are possible. The request for an investigation was removed before it was handed to you, or if it was in there, you would have already seen that.
You didn't read it.
You didn't read it. And the sad part about it is, Eric, what irritated them the most is that I track everything. Why do I track it? For that very reason, because I've been put in situations, which is the way we've always done it, where you want me to correct something and I'm not going to lie. I was put under an investigation and numerous executives were willing to lie because guess what I do? I back the blue first, I back the badge first, and then I find out what I need to find out later. And if you don't do that, you're a snitch, you're not standing for up for people, you're a traitor, you're all kind of names, but nobody's holding accountable the people that are willing to so blatantly lie. And then they get upset at those of us that go, hello, here's a flashlight, boom. Here's the evidence that we so readily want to book in against people that are in the streets creating crimes or doing crime. But we're not willing to step up to that plate when it's time to hold our own accountable. And wouldn't it be a safer place if we're not always looking over our shoulders to wonder if our partner's going to have our back? And having your back, Eric, I'm sorry, is not lying for you. Having your back is checking you in the locker room, at the back of the trunk, in the ODR when you're eating, the officer's dining room, if you're in custody, in whatever your break room is in the courts, down in the lockup, wherever it is. You having those conversations with your partner that I'm going to be here for you, but we're going to do it the right way or we're not going to do it. That is maturity. That is wearing the uniform. That is not being worn by the uniform. And heaven forbid that a captain and a commander would try to coerce you to change a report. That is a true story, and I had it happen.
You
And when
know,
I
and
refused, I became a pariah because I'm not following direction. And then I'm aggressive, and then I'm holding a water hose, and then
but
I'm wearing a purple hat, and then I'm
right,
going
but I
to
mean, but you got to
reel it back
realize,
in.
why are you the pariah when here's the reality of it. So many people will change it. So many people have changed it.
Mhm.
And so you think about this. Why do they come to you and say, we need to change? In other words, what's the comfort level that says it's okay for me to go and tell my subordinate that they need to change a report? It's because it's the way we've always done it. And they just keep doing it as they rise up the ranks. They just keep doing it because it's a way that they were taught and they really have. Remember, I said earlier, actually think that wrong is right because that's all they've ever done. That's all they know.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
you're the pariah because they probably told three or four other lieutenants to change the report and they did it. They
Yeah.
probably told 10 or 15 sergeants, hey, no, you need to change that report. And they say, oh, okay, yes, ma'am, I'll do it. Yes, sir. I'll take care of it. And they do it. You know,
Mhm.
we had a whole um era period of time where we were going through investigations on falsified force reports out of the custody division, and I remember there were supervisors being put under criminal investigations. And why? Oh, well, I sent it to operations and they kicked it back saying we got to change this. No, you don't. And,
Hmm.
and there's and having been in operations, having been a unit commander, having gone to these risk management forums, and sending stuff up the chain, when it comes back down, when a sergeant does a use of force report, they sign off on it. Then the watch commander signs off on it. Then the ops lieutenant signs off on it. Then the unit commander signs off on it. Then the commander signs off on it. And depending on the level, maybe a chief signs off on it. They want all of those signatures to be in concurrence.
Mhm.
And that's just not the case sometimes.
Mhm.
Not only is it not the case, but when you're the person that says, hey, this deputy used excessive force, and you have somebody saying, no, they didn't. We don't want that. We don't want to say they use excessive force because then they're going to get in trouble. Then we got to open up an admin. Well, then you got to do what you got to do.
Absolutely. And
But,
having
but
gone through the force instructor training, both of us, and certified as such, you would think that they would actually say, wow, because that came up. Like I had a
yeah, I
lieutenant
mean,
bring me a
it's
report and have
a lack
me
of accountability.
wanted me to here, just sign. We made some adjustments and some changes.
Right.
Not to my report, you didn't. I'll
Right.
take
Now
it.
you
I'll
tell me
take a
I
look at it.
misspelled some words. You tell me that I left out some grammar, which usually didn't happen, or you know what I mean? You might even have a question that I didn't have answered for you in the report. I'll go get that question answered for you. But change my finding from out of policy to in policy, and you have nothing. You haven't bought me a field ops directive. You haven't brought me a revised policy. You haven't brought me any kind of manual that says, hey, you know what, the policy changed 2 weeks ago. Maybe you didn't know about it, Derek. I'd be like, okay, you know what, my bad. Guess what? Guess it's in policy now. But you
It's
just want
like
me to
when I
change
write
it?
checks here at home and I just bring them in and say, here, Eric, sign right here. And you know how you trust me and you sign it, even if it's paying off my credit card? Well, you don't remember it, but that usually is what happened. But
No,
anyway,
I think when you write checks and you just sign my name, that's different. I think I'm not sure.
but with you walking up and being bold enough to say, the captain said that she needs you to sign this and we needed to change some things. And I'm supposed to say, oh, no problem. The person that put together the case against me, who was said to have put it together, but she had help with the commander, she literally would say that all the time. Well, I don't know, but the captain said, I don't know, but the commander needs this. I don't know, but you're about the not knowingest person that I've ever met. You're carrying the message. So you're the one standing here when what I did the day that the lieutenant tried to flip the pages is what I call it. Here, sign here, initial here, dot here, press hard. I snatched the envelope. And she's like, no, 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 no. So now I know there's something wrong. Why can't I look at my own work? And I got in the habit of emailing my work. Why? Because then there's a record of what my original report was. Here's why. We signed the first page, but page 3 of 18 could be swapped out. That in of itself is a major problem because there's no accountability in the actual tracking. And then you get mad at me like, well, why did you? I've had people call me, Eric, why did you email that to me? Because they're
Oh,
terrified.
yeah,
Or
exactly.
send me an email. Since you were lobbing that over, I'm going to toss that ball across the court. Hey, do me a favor, commander, captain, whatever. Send me an email, what you just asked me to do. And then they change up real
Oh,
quick, like, no,
yeah, maybe we won't do that. Yeah.
a certain very high profile case.
I
But
mean,
I'm
hey,
just imagining things, right?
yeah.
Send me an
Hey,
email.
following a lawful order. He was trying to give me an order. I don't know why. In outside the building, in the little deputy dining area, we had to go all the way outside the building for him to give me this direction. I said, okay, yeah, sure, no problem. Send me an email.
And these,
And I've never heard anything else about it. It's like, okay, how about no? We're just not going to send you an email. Yeah, yeah. You just reminded me that just goes to show how prevalent it is. It's like, hey, I'll just go outside and have a conversation with him, and he'll do it because everybody does it. Yeah, no, not me. I'm not the one. Yeah,
and
you're
public
not having me
service
doing some
announcement.
stuff.
Public
Yeah,
service announcement. For those who are watching this video, the public Code 3 Conversations and CC speaking out about the case and all of the lies that were proven in April. This is not just how, oh, now she's upset because she had something happen to her. I walked into an office and reported something that netted discipline for an executive. And they were looking
well,
at me like I was crazy. Why would you do this? This is, detrimental to your career. This could possibly damage you. I do it because it's the right thing. And I would rather have the damage and be doing right than to do wrong, to walk around taller because I just got a promotion. Yeah, it helps your family at the end of the day financially. But what kind of hollow person are you on the inside when you're okay with doing wrong?
no values, no character. But let me just say this, and for the public, and to remind you, CC Strong, that 20 some odd years ago, I'm here to do what she's doing. You were doing this as a deputy. You did this back then when, it wasn't even about you possibly getting a promotion or losing a promotion. You know what I mean? You walked into operation and, reported a supervisor that wasn't doing his job, was signing off on stuff, whatever they were doing, signing off on stuff that wasn't their work, not valid, and just not being a good supervisor. I mean, creating all kind of other violations.
Two
So
of them. Oh, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
no, I know. I'm just saying. So I'm reminding people that this didn't start with the campaign. This didn't start with the lawsuit. You were doing this 20 plus years ago, and I know it because I saw
Absolutely.
it. So
Absolutely. It didn't make me
yeah,
popular, and I had more people at my elbow telling me not to. This could be damaging to you, and you may not want to do that. And then I'd have the executive that I'm reporting it to almost nervous because it's like, well, what do you want me to do with this? I wasn't expecting. You were caught off guard. I get it, but I can't let it go on. I've made enough phone calls to the intake unit. I've tracked it. Here, I'm giving it to you already packaged. It's just wrong. And you have to have the people that are worn by the uniform are okay with the bad behavior. They're okay with not following lawful orders, but just because the chief told them to, doing it. The person who investigated, again, I'll go back. The person that did the inquiry on my case, I'd be willing to bet they were just following orders because they're not actually thinking, let me go find out. And let me even say, have some questions. You're not going to get me to lie on documentation. I don't care who you are. I'm not doing it. But because you are so willing to kiss up, let's just call it what it is, or you're not willing to learn it yourself so that you know that it's wrong, you're not willing to go look it up. I just, hey, I was given an order and I followed it. But that's only going to go so far. What happens when the order is unlawful? You can't always cry, well, I didn't know. My sergeant told me to do that. My lieutenant told me to do that. My captain said. The commander said, oh, this is coming from the chief. I, it's
Hey, and,
crazy.
and I just had a conversation with some people, I think the day before yesterday, about unlawful orders given. We had several people go to prison because they were following orders, and whereas I don't know the specific of every conversation, every detail, what I can tell you is that probably 9 or 10 employees were following orders, doing what they were told to do. Now, whether they knew they were illegal or not, they knew they were unlawful or not, again, hey, if I follow this order, it's going to get me in the good graces of those powers that be, and it's going to be beneficial for me, and I'm going to do it because I want to be on their good side. Well, guess what? Even the powers that be went to prison. So you went to prison, and and interesting enough, that was around the same time that I told that person, yeah, no, we send me an email.
Absolutely. And I was
And then
I was
even
on
then,
duty.
and I want to just be clear that even then, you sending me an email didn't mean I was going to do it. It was going to give me some information to be able to evaluate again whether that order was within policy or within the law, that directive. So,
Absolutely. And I was on duty when one of those people they came looking for them. So they knew very well that the time was up, the gig was up, because I was told, hey, you're me and you. And I was a watch sergeant that day.
right.
And I'm like, whoa. And then no longer, sooner had that person left, then the folks came looking for them. And it's sad because we're so ready to follow that order just blind. I made it a point, let me go dig and look and learn just at least the basics. The same person who placed me under investigation was a partner and a peer. Didn't follow the directive of something within custody and probably could have gotten into trouble. And nothing nefarious, but I helped that person out by filling in the blank for them about something they didn't know. And they could have gotten into some major trouble. Fast forward all those years later, that would be the person who would be used in a case against me.
Well, because they were trying to get that next promotion, that
And
next
they
bump.
did. They got that promotion. Couldn't handle the one they were in, but
Right.
they did get that next promotion. But the fact of the matter is that here I am explaining to you that you are way off and way wrong about this particular policy. But you're steeped in, I'm a lieutenant. So I made a command decision. You made a wrong decision, and I'm showing it to you in black and white. But here's how I can help you. You need to go and be able to now collect what really happened. Because you're going to look real silly when they pull that camera footage and they're going to see that you messed up. And the amazement when this person came in like the little lamb and, oh, we work together. It's going to be great to work together again. And the whole time, you stirring up and trying to gather because supervisor shopping was what was being done. Let me find the supervisor that'll actually go after her. Pretty sad. But people would challenge that thinking that you're a nerd, you're too by the book. I've heard it every which way. But what about us doing it the way it's supposed to be done? What about treating people fair? What about not shifting the narrative of a traffic stop and consider what they did wrong and holding them to that, not the way they look and wanting to add some other things? What about doing the job without biases or whatever it is that's in your mind about a certain type of people? What about just doing the job right, doing it well, trying to improve it, training people behind you to do the right thing? As I have to keep going back to that post, it warmed my heart. training them to do the right thing where it sticks with them for years to come. And they're able to come back and tell you, because of what you taught me, I actually learned something. Amazing. Amazing. Great topic, following lawful orders. And there's some stuff even in the happening in our government today. These topics are big in the headlines. And then there's a recent headline with a retirement that's on the horizon. I'm sure it's very interesting that
Yeah.
although I've been away from there for a while now, things have not changed.
Yeah. Yeah. You want me to speak to it? You want me to talk about it a little bit? Did you
Feel
read the
free.
article?
You've got 8 minutes. Yes, I did read the article actually. Someone
Yeah.
sent it to me and I read it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting is that for those people of the audience that in Los Angeles we have an Office of Inspector General position, and the head of that just retired, and in their retirement notice or notification or letter, they talked about the fact that the sheriffs, that they're the civilian oversight of the sheriff's department, and none of the sheriffs are complying with the law. The law gives them subpoena authority. The law allows them to investigate independently of the department, and that means they get, access to documents. Now, whether you agree with it or not is not the point. It's the law. And you have sheriff after sheriff. Well, let me just say this current sheriff who ran on a platform of being transparent after the previous sheriff said, I'm not giving you anything very loud and boldly, but this current sheriff is just quietly refusing to give it to. And people think that it's okay because they're not hearing noise. But
So I have a
yeah,
question for you, and it's
okay,
just
sure.
pinged in my brain. Do
Ping.
you think that it is an ego arrogance that you're just not going to tell me what to do and you don't need to look at that? Your civilians, whatever their thought process is on that side. Or is it that they know that what will be found will actually upset the whole apple cart? Which way do you think that either of them or both of them lean?
When you say
Strictly
either or both of
opinion.
them, are you talking about the be either or both of the previous sheriffs or the current sheriff?
Yeah, you brought up
I,
the
I
two
would I would say
sheriffs.
that I would say that the previous sheriff, Villanueva, was all ego. He just was not going to go with it. But just because, he I'm going to stand up for my deputies, right or wrong, I'm going to stand up for them, no matter what. And I think that was all ego, narcissism. I mean, didn't he get an evaluation or something that said he was anyway? Um, the
It was
current sheriff,
152 pages. Oh, I'm
yeah,
sorry. I
yeah,
just threw that
exactly.
out there.
The current sheriff, I think, is just cowering down to pressures from other people because he wants everybody to be his friend. He wants to be
Mm.
popular. He wants the deputies to like him. And I hear a lot that he's very concerned with that. I hear from people very close to him that he speaks a lot about, why don't the deputies like me? I don't understand. Um, Again, just
I had
hearsay.
high
That's
hopes
what
for
I've
him.
heard.
I
You know,
thought with
and
him hearing about my case and all the information that he was given, that he was going to do the right thing. I really
well,
honestly, I had some high hopes
I
for him.
I had high hopes for him too, because you hate when I use this, but as hard as he courted me to get my support,
I
you know
don't
what I
like the
mean?
sound of him,
And
someone
I
courting you.
I know, I know you. That's why I say it, because you don't like it, but he really did. I mean, he called and he took me out to dinner, and he said, let's go sit down, and he called and he
I
texted and he had all his
remember.
friends call, and I thought I had high hopes too that he would be about affecting change, but what he was is he made all of his decisions based on fear. Soon as he got in the office, he was afraid about me running against him 4 years later. And here's what that tells me: you're more afraid of what I might do in 4 years than you are confident in what you can accomplish in 4 years. And that's
Oh,
when
that's
you're
a
making,
bar.
yeah, that's a bar. That's a drop it. That's 3 times I got that right. So anyway,
Mic
um,
drop.
so that tells you
Ouch.
who he is.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Rather than you saying, there's nothing this guy can do but help me make this department better. So let me do all the things that I said I was going to do, and work with him and have him work with me. No, I'm going to try every way that I can to stifle him because he might run against me in 4 years, and I don't want him to beat me.
And the
Well,
more I think of it, is keeping me in that space
yeah,
with that
absolutely.
case and then even letting that
Absolutely.
second one hit me was probably
Absolutely.
all because of that. I
No,
can't
it
prove her.
it
She can't be
absolutely
proven
is.
right because if he
Listen,
runs again, he's got the wife that was the ogre that harmed people and mistreated people and all the other lies stacked.
absolutely. And rather than doing the right thing, he said, I'm going to roll the dice, right? I'm going to roll the dice and hope that I have some ammunition later to be able to bring him. That's all Alex was trying to do, was trying to disparage you, your reputation, and say, well, look how bad and awful she is. And that and the current guy, Luna, just basically, in my opinion, wanted to keep it going so that he
Yeah,
could use it, but it's all kind of backfired on him.
really sad.
Arbitration won. I mean, and here's the thing. They
True.
could have made it right. They could have done the right thing, and they could be in a whole different place or position, but what he chose to do was listen to all of the people that were already there helping contribute and create the problems because they're all of the people that Alex brought in. And guess what's happened? Nothing's changed. In a lot of ways, it's gotten worse
Yeah. And I
because he
gave
kept on
plenty
the
of
same.
opportunity. I
Oh, yeah,
reached out to everybody possible and gave them documents,
of course.
proof, and it was ignored. So that just lets me know that level of twisted
Yeah,
that the
absolutely.
uniform wears you and you not wearing the uniform. With that being said, we are coming to a close. I want to thank my partner here for you staying with me throughout these past 12 episodes. I would never have known that you would have given me your time in this manner to come on to Code 3 Conversation for each of them. And I can't wait to see. Yeah, you were strong armed. You don't have to make the
I was
face.
going to say I had a choice. I didn't. No, happy to be
But to
here.
give
Happy
of
to be
your,
here.
yes, to give of your time for a mission to actually make things better is amazing and it's so very much appreciated. So, Chief Eric Strong, I say to you, thank you for your time. Thank you for your service, 4 different agencies, 32 years, military, former Marine. I know not to get that wrong, but you are so appreciated for your level of service, your heart, your ideas of wanting to impact and have change. And it is not missed on me. And I don't say that lightly just because I am your wife. I say that as a former partner of yours, someone who knew firsthand what you're capable of and what you can do. And I wish you well in your run for better as the sheriff of Los Angeles County 2026, because that is what my prayer is, because I know that you would make a difference and make it better, not just for some, but for all. And I mean that from my heart. So thank you, thank you, thank you for episode 12. I want to say a shout out thanking my staff. You all are amazing. You helped me lift and keep me on point to work to be even stronger. So, Code 3 Conversations for the year 2025 has come to a close, and we will be announcing and returning the second week of January 2026. So, from everyone with Code 3 Conversations and the staff of the CC Strong Corporation, we say, we wish you a safe and happy holidays in the coming weeks. And we're going to say bye for now. We appreciate you.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays.
Thank you.